intellectual lights of the party, one of the few amongst them who could still make the principles of the revolution feel noble and romantic, who could still sing the old songs in tune. He could write poetry, while the rest of them struggled with prose. All in the past now. He had fallen too far, and now there was nothing left but to fall the last 6 feet. Standing on the gallows, Mendelssohn gave the crowd a sad little smile as the noose was lowered down over a neck scarcely thicker than the rope. "Don't worry, friends," he said softly. "We'll see each other soon." The priest who had followed him out of the cell nodded approvingly, completely unaware just what Mendelssohn meant by these words, and just as unaware of the personal jeopardy he placed himself in by agreeing with them. Why did they hang him? Because they loved him and he had betrayed them. To simply shoot him would have been to render him one of the anonymous thousands. But this was Leon Mendelssohn. We kept him by our bedsides and read him to our children. His famous passage on the nature of love from Elijah's Chariot had been read at half the weddings in Caspian for almost 30 years. His contribution to the life of the state was immense. His betrayal, indescribable. So the state hanged him, to make the point clear. Barbaric though it may seem, hanging can be the most merciful form of execution if performed competently. But the conditions were not favourable. No hanging had been performed in many decades, as I have said, and even if the noose had been expertly tied, Mendelssohn was simply too light. He hung there for perhaps 2 minutes, transforming before the eyes of the assembled crowd from a dignified, learned man to a panicked, choking animal, and lastly to an object, hanging silently in the wind. None of the party faithful said anything. Nobody wished to be a main character in this particular play. All were content to be extras. If you look at the pictures that were taken of the hanging, study the faces of those people, grey and lumpy and anonymous as a row of unwashed potatoes. But standing among them you will see another man. In his late 30s, but still with a youthful zeal on his features, bald, sallow-skinned, and with the eyes of a betrayed lover, burning with hatred and love gone septic. This was the journalist Paulo Xirau, and he was the only one of his profession permitted to attend the hanging. Journalists, as a rule, were not trusted in places like the Caspian Republic. Those that are have gone to great lengths to prove their loyalty. Paulo had most assuredly done that. In fact, looking back at my time in the Caspian Republic, I find myself asking, did anyone believe as much as he did? In the party, in the principles the nation was founded on? Did anyone hate as much, believe as passionately, pledge their life and body and soul to the Caspian Republic as fervently as he did? I doubt it. Which is tragic when you consider the truth about him. In my better moments I pity him. I once met a theologian who described hell as a small room and enough time to think about how much you hate yourself. Paulo Xirau entered that room a long time ago and barred the door. Everyone there knew Xirau and Mendelssohn. They knew why Xirau was trusted and Mendelssohn had been killed. But even they, I hope, were shocked when he broke the line of anonymous party hacks to stand in front of the still swinging body of Mendelssohn and fire a thick, yellow glob of sputum onto his chest. Then, as if he had exorcised himself of some malign spirit, he calmly strode out of the courtyard, stopping only to exchange a polite, wordless smile with some high-ranking party member or other. Nobody said anything. But that night 4 members of the Senior Administrative Council of the State Security Agency met in the parlour of Augusta Niemann, the Stasek Deputy Director. And there, with tongues loosened by Niemann's still impressive if dwindling stock of pre-embargo brandy, they bravely declared in whispered tones that, whatever about politics, just forgetting politics for 1 second, Xirau had crossed a line. Everyone agreed, each more vigorously than the last, that Mendelssohn had to die. But spitting on his corpse, completely uncalled for. "Have you ever felt," Niemann began, and everyone in the room readied themselves to feel whatever it was that Niemann was about to ask them to feel.